So what's good, TMG fam? Listen, you want to know something I didn't know I needed until I saw it? Ice sculpting. If I could recall or remember when I first saw it, it had to be, I want to say, on a cruise ship, right? On a cruise ship, bro. And I was just standing there in a daze, just mesmerized, just to see somebody do that, bro. Like, I'm a fan of a person that has skill. Like, if you got a skill to be able to do something like that, I'm a fan automatically, bro. You know what I mean? And I was just standing there just watching, like, in awe, and just to see somebody just take a block of ice and turn it into something just amazing. Amazing, bro. Like, I feel like ice sculptors, they don't get enough credit in my book. You know what I mean? You don't hear enough people talking about them. Like, that just ain't no regular, ordinary skill to have. So we're going to check this video out here, man. 10 levels of ice sculpture, easy to complex wire. All right. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button, join the fam. Let's check it out. Okay.
My name is Shintaro Okamoto. I'm an ice sculptor. Today I've been challenged to create an ice sculpture in 10 levels of increasing complexity. So today we're making 3 sculptures. First with hand tools only, then with power tools, and then lastly with use of computers.
Look at that. Especially the middle one, sculptor number 2. Look at how, man, look at the attention to detail in that, fam. That look like one of them souvenirs that you can buy and send to your house, and it's almost like a paperweight or something, but the souvenir style, yeah, that's fire.
Then with power tools, and then lastly with use of computers and CNC. Angelfish has been kind of historical design within the ice sculpture community, and it's something that I think is familiar shape enough and interesting shape enough to really kind of expand into. So the concept of sculpting itself will remain constant, removing the excess material around the design, refining the dimensional shape, and then finishing with details. This can be approached in many different ways. For this project, I just simply wanted to break it in terms of the lineage of technology. Now, this is a fishbowl mold, and this is not what we'll be making today. First, we gotta talk about the material, the ice. Now, we make our own ice. Each machine makes 2 blocks, each block about 37 gallons. Takes about 3 days, about 275 pounds, and it creates a crystal clear, densely frozen block of ice. Crystal clear blocks are made with 2 important processes. One is one direction freezing, that freezes from the bottom up. By freezing ice one direction, it allows air bubbles to lift up to the surface, and also circulation of water as it freezes. So by...
Look at that, y'all ain't even know it was a complex to even get the block of ice, bro. I ain't gonna lie, me neither. I just thought you threw some water in a container, a big enough container to create a block of ice and let it sit in the cold for a long time. That's what I thought. No disrespect to all the ice sculptors out there, but lack of knowledge. I didn't know that, bro. And I'm just being honest and real. They got a technique for it, bro. Technique for freezing it to make sure it's see-through.
To the surface, and also circulation of water as it freezes. So by agitating the water, it releases any kind of still air bubbles or impurities that may remain on the surface as it freezes. First, sculpture with just hand tools is the most traditional approach to ice carving. For us, we'll start with a block of ice, have a design at hand, study the design, and then we will literally kind of draw the design onto the ice surface, usually with an ice pick or a little handsaw. So once the design is established onto the surface of the block, then the first tool in hand will be the big handsaw. It's an awesome tool, it's beautiful, and it's a bitch to work with.
Arms would be burning right now. Bro, if you're not a person that work out on a daily, this looked like it would be a workout to use these hand tools. What?
The hand saw is a beast of a saw, but the design, it has to be pretty basic, pretty simple, straight lines. You can't really carve away in any kind of curvature. This is really meant to take away big chunks of ice in series of straight lines. So once the big saw is used to take away any just excess ice, the next level would be to pick up the big flat chisels to take away more ice, but in a slightly more nuanced manner. Bigger the chisel, more surface it can take away. So as we're trying to still define the outer contour of the shape, bigger chisel, more helpful it is. To work with the flat chisel, you first have to have a basic knowledge of the chisel. Our chisel has a beveled front and a flat back. And, the use of two sides will give us two different effects, creating a form that's concave or convex. And by having those two together, we can kind of follow any kind of contours we're trying to achieve. So after the...
So my question is, in my mind, I'm thinking about errors right now. Like how many mess ups are you allowed before you got to scrap and restart? So with me thinking that, then how many blocks of ice do you got to have readily on hand? You know what I mean? Because just seeing that, it looks like precision, execution, no room for errors. Or if you do have errors, it can't be that many because you can't just like put ice back on it and then, nah.
Together, we can kind of follow any kind of contours that we're trying to achieve. So after the big tools are gone, the next level would be to pick up the smaller tools like small pistol saws to hand saws to smaller chisels. It allows us to refine the overall shape more and then go into detailing. Like carving out eyes or scales. As we enter the refining, detailing stage, we just have to be aware of just being more delicate with our pressure onto the surfaces of the ice. I think everything's getting thinner and more refined, so the tools just naturally becomes smaller. So once the overall shape of the angelfish is ready, then I would pick up the V-chisel to finish the detailing. So the V-chisels, it eats onto the surface of the ice, and you can really scribe onto the surface and give a deep line onto the surface that can really add refraction when looked at and last longer onto the surface of the ice. With smaller chisels, we can hone down into parts of the design, like for this angelfish, lifting the pectoral fins perhaps, or the bulge around the eyes. It allows us to more easily access that area without damaging other areas. We often have to adjust the design we're carving based on the limitation of the tools we use. So for a hand tools only approach, the design would have to be stylized and then simplified to make the best of what we got. Once the sculpture is finished with all the carving details, the rest is just cleaning up for presentation. Look at that. I haven't done that since I was 15. Second.
I wonder how much time you got before it actually starts to like melt. You know what I mean? How much time are you given to get this done? And I would think time is a huge factor.
Sculpture with power tools. In the most basic level of sculpting, you're given a material and work within the material. To step up that level, then we want to think outside the frame. So we can bring in more materials and then fusing blocks onto the surface to make sculpture bigger than the actual block that we were first given. By having the opportunity to add ice, it allows us to compose a more dynamic design and allows us to play with more details. So fusing block entails the use of the aluminum plate, a heating plate, to clean up all the surfaces that two ice will come together, so it's a perfect match. At minimum, one of the two ice has to be very cold to bite onto the ice surface.
Well, I guess they just answered my question. Dang, I didn't know you could do that, bro. That's see what I'm saying? Give them their respect.
ice behaves very differently in nuanced gradations of temperature when it's really, really cold. Fusing of blocks of ice with squirted water alone doesn't work. So you have to create channels for the waters to go into to spread. And then when it's really, really warm, then you have to think about the use of, dry ice. And it's a tricky, tricky thing. So now that we have the block form ready for cutting, we will pick up an electric chainsaw to cut the overall shape. So while the big saw is limited
So it looks like he can curve a little bit more with this one, right?
to straight lines, electric chainsaws allows us to really work various contours of various shapes. And being a very powerful tool, it really allows us to more efficiently tackle bigger ice without taxing ourselves too much. So the use of chainsaw really gives us a step up in efficiency. Just one chainsaw can pretty much take over everything that a big saw and a big chisel would have done in a hand tool stage. Chainsaw itself is slightly modified to cut ice. The chain that come off the shelf is designed to cut wood. It's got a kickback teeth on it that prevents us from cutting ice as well as we would like. After the chainsaw work is done, the overall shape is pretty much there. I would say no matter how big or small the design, we would probably do about 60–70% of the sculpture with chainsaw only. So now that the chainsaw part is done,
Definitely faster too. So keep that in mind. If y'all ever hire somebody, you might want to ask them, hey fam, do y'all hand sculpt these or do y'all use chainsaw? They'd be like, yeah, we charge by the hour and we use hand tools. You might want to find somebody with a chainsaw, depending on your budget.
then we will really jump into level of detailing that we can play with, and that's done with die grinders and specialized bits. In comparison to hand tool only stage, the use of die grinders really allows us to give very refined, minute detailing of the shapes and effects that we want to give to the surfaces. It's a very smooth volume that we can create, and even the nuanced curvature of the overall shape can be really achieved by playing with these shaper bits.
Y'all notice he's soaking wet too, so make sure if you're gonna do this or try to do this, which I would definitely try to do this. You know how they have these like little things you could pay for to go and like paint or do different things like that, make candles and stuff like that. Little date night outings you could do. If this was on like a Groupon or something like that, it don't even have to be a Groupon. If they had this type of stuff, and maybe they do and I just don't know, let me know in the comment section, bro. But if not, this would be something dope to go do on a date night. Just make sure you bring some dry clothes with you. You know what I'm saying?
With these shaper bits. And then from there, I'll probably pick up the needle bits to really start drawing the scales. And even this, compared to V-chisels, that's again still more of a series of straight lines. We can really start giving curves of scales or play with different angles of the bits going into the ice surface so that it looks like it's layering of scales, not just sitting next to each other. Proficiencies of the needle bits can really deepen the explorations of the details you can give. And, I'll probably do some finishing touches with bubble bits, maybe use that to create a nice, kind of a bulby eyeballs of the fish. That can give a nice little finish. Next, we're going to really explore the most complex design possible thanks to the use of computers and CNC robots. A CNC robot consists for this sculpture, a flatbed with spindle that's attached to a CNC contraption which has X, Y, and Z axis that will correspond to different data that comes from the drawing that's done on the computer. The carving process will be done inside the freezer now because CNC machine exists inside the freezer. Everything that works with the machine has to be very stable, and ice must remain stable, and thus the freezer work. And for each level, I've designated different size of bits that can range from a 1/2-inch bit for the outer shape all the way down to 1/16 of a bit. By having the numbers, the precision to our arsenal, it allows us to create a form that's really daring and give kind of details that's just not possible by hand. I want to design a skeletal structure and then piece it together with several blocks of ice so that we can give more dynamic overall design to the shape. More backgrounds, more foregrounds, maybe really expand the narrative of the overall compositions, maybe dimensional bubbles that could be coming out from the sculpture, maybe give a little a choral structure in the front. Really just,
Now that's next level too right there, bro. Like, you get more time, you're able to way more detail in it. Of course, I'm pretty sure that machine ain't cheap at all. You know what I'm saying? But you're getting so much detail and able to bring this thing to life in so many different ways, bro, and add so much to it. This is insane.
Deepen the complexity of the overall sculpture. We can go further into technology. There are 3D carving machines out there. There are arms that, create various automated structures now that can finish sculpture.
What was that? Did it just do the ice sculpture itself?
There are 3D carving machines out there. There are arms that,
Yeah, he said 3D, my bad. Oh, snap.
Create various automated structures now that can finish sculpture completely without us touching at all. But that's a whole nother realm of programming. For us, the use of CNC robot is as far as we take it. People often ask if it's, sad for us to see the sculptures that we create, that we spend, amounts of time and material to do, simply to kind of melt away. But for us, I think as a practicing artist, working with ice is quite liberating, so it allows us to focus on the process itself. And also, we see ice sculpture as more performative. The finishing peak is really when it leaves our studio and it's out and melting. Thank you, Wired.
I ain't gonna lie, that would get me too. Spend all that time, attention to detail, and to know at the end of it, it's gonna melt away. Like, yeah, that would definitely kind of irk me, man. You know what I'm saying? Just to be like, all right, bro, we gotta, cause I was thinking the entire time they would have to like stick it in the freezer and they would keep like some of their art in the freezer, but I guess there's no way to do that. I don't know, man, but yeah, I would hate that. But I would love to see like some of the craziest, extraordinary things they've sculpted and stuff like that. I know with that CNC machine, I mean, where couldn't they take it? They could probably like design a mansion a little mansion to sit on a table out of ice. You know what I mean? I just think these are extremely dope. When I saw these as kids, when I saw this as a kid, I think it was in a movie, and I always associated that with like rich people. You know what I mean? You see people with ice sculptures at their parties or an event. I always associated that with like rich people. So I'm gonna look up the prices though. But like I said, man, imagine that as like a date night type of thing to go do. Or get yourself out the doghouse. Like, she can't be mad at you after you take her ice sculpting, bro. You know what I mean? And you would be able to do it yourself. I just think that's super fire. Super fire. You know what I mean? But y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you thought of this video here. 10 levels of ice sculpture. Easy to complex wire. All right. Y'all hit that like button. Let's run the likes up, man. And until the next reaction, I'm gone. Peace.